expansive wonderland of natural beauty and an exciting and vibrant resort playground to the world. Supporting this are uniquely concentrated clusters of critical infrastructure and the stunning architectural icons of our economic prosperity. Over 44 million people visit Nevada on an annual basis. With our magnificent role as host to an enormously diverse cross-section of the world's people, we remain vulnerable to those who would harm our guests and the hardworking citizens of the Silver State. Each of us has an obligation to safeguard our community and our livelihood by improving awareness of our surroundings and more effectively using our common sense to say something when we see something that just doesn't seem right. For the next few minutes then, please listen and learn what experience has taught us about how we can protect Nevada's extraordinary quality of life by recognizing the 7 signs of terrorism.
Hello, I'm Doug Gillespie, and I have the privilege of serving as Sheriff of Clark County. I know that every one of us was affected by the tragic events of September 11th, 2001, when terrorists attacked on American soil. The reality and images of that day will live forever as a reminder that on any given day, thousands of people in the world are plotting, scheming, planning, and waiting to execute another attack. We know that terrorists seek targets to achieve mass casualties, spectacular images, economic impact, and damage to that which has symbolic value to America. We designed this DVD to increase your situational awareness, build better observational skills, and enhance the reporting of suspicious persons, events, and situations.
Hello, I'm Mike Haley, Sheriff of Washoe County. In the next few minutes, we will describe the 7 signs of terrorism, the functional steps, behavioral attributes that those who wish to harm us will most likely exhibit in order to pull off a mission. Experience has taught us that if one or more of these steps are disrupted, it is possible that a destructive mission can be stopped. These 7 signs are surveillance, information gathering, testing security or probing, planning, acquiring supplies and funding, suspicious behavior, rehearsal or practice runs, and getting into position.
I'd like to tell you more about each of the indicators of terrorism. The first sign is surveillance. Terrorists will often conduct surveillance on a possible target. They do this in order to determine the strengths and weaknesses of their target and the response time of emergency responders. Routes to and from the target are usually established during the surveillance phase. Examples of surveillance include someone recording or monitoring activities, drawing diagrams, making notes on maps, using vision-enhancing devices such as binoculars, or seeking floor plans or blueprints of places such as resorts, public utilities, government or military facilities. Any of these acts may be a sign that something isn't right. We need you to report individuals near critical facilities who appear to be conducting surveillance of sensitive operations, including photography or videotaping. The second sign is information gathering. This is when someone attempts to gain information about an important place, operation, or workers. An important place might be a power or water plant, a resort, school, stadium, or shopping mall. Terrorists may ask what the building is used for, question building operations or deliveries, and seek out other information. That alone, or taken together with other facts, might reveal security strengths or weaknesses. Such attempts to obtain this information may be made by fax, mail, email, phone, or in person. They may also attempt to place key people in sensitive work locations to gain intelligence. Seemingly innocent medical emergencies can mask efforts by terrorists to evaluate the fire and emergency medical service capabilities and response times. An unusual series of questions about capabilities and procedures when rendering aid to victims of a medical emergency can be an information-gathering act. Truckers hauling freight should be wary of unusual questions about what they are carrying and their intended destinations. Terrorists may be seeking inconspicuous ways to smuggle explosives or other toxic materials into areas otherwise out of reach. We all have good instincts, and if we listen to those instincts, they just might make the difference for discerning those people who are testing the waters, testing our security. It may be simple human curiosity, or it could be something more sinister, but we should listen to our instincts when it simply doesn't feel right. Testing security is another way for terrorists to gather information. This probing may be done by walking or driving into restricted areas to observe security or law enforcement response. They may also try to enter physical security barriers or access procedures in order to assess strengths and weaknesses. Specific areas of interest to terrorists would include how long it takes security or law enforcement to respond to an incident, the number of responding personnel and their equipment, or the routes taken to a specific location. Vehicles may be parked for unusually long periods of time, sometimes in no parking areas, as another test of security. The goal here is to determine how much time elapses before a suspicious vehicle is thoroughly checked. Target selection examples include public buildings, resorts, transit systems, communications facilities, schools, colleges, and universities, symbolic sites, government buildings, houses of worship, utilities, high-density locations, or special events. Given these types of targets, you can see why, with so many large events, vast properties, and open doors, we in Nevada should be extra vigilant. Our suspicions should also be aroused when someone abandons an item and leaves the area quickly, or when someone is wearing a specific uniform but does not appear to be involved in related activities. Terrorists need to obtain funding and acquire supplies and equipment to carry out their attacks. This may include purchasing or stealing law enforcement or military equipment, identification badges, uniforms, and decals. Terrorists may also obtain explosives, weapons, ammunition, harmful chemicals such as chlorine, or chemical equipment. Even seemingly benign chemicals such as hydrogen peroxide in quantity can be a prescription for a deadly explosive device. So retailers and customers alike should be mindful of the unusual purchase or storage of fertilizer or harmful chemicals. Terrorists often use false, forged, or stolen identification documents, including passports and driver's licenses. They may try to produce counterfeit identification by photocopying. Any of these items would make it easier to gain entrance to secured or prohibited areas. Many items used to construct or transport improvised weapons are commercially available. It's helpful to be aware of these materials and their value to a terrorist attack. For example, strong chemical smells coming from an apartment building, or large drums of materials being moved into or out of a residence or storage facility may be indicative of criminal activity. It could be a meth lab or a more sinister sign of the bad guys gearing up. Funding is, of course, a crucial part of enabling terrorist planning and execution. The financing networks of terrorist organizations are complex and diverse. Funds provided by charities and other deep-pocket donors may provide the capital needed to finance training, acquisition, and conduct of attacks. We have learned that criminal activities such as kidnapping for ransom, narcotics trafficking, robbery, theft, extortion, smuggling, and counterfeiting of both goods and currency are important methods by which terrorists can finance their plans. Another sign is suspicious persons that simply don't belong. This is someone in a workplace, building, neighborhood, or business that appears suspicious because of their behavior, the unusual questions they ask, or the statements they make. Before carrying out the final operation or plan, terrorists typically conduct a practice run, essentially a rehearsal of their operation. A practice run consists of putting people into position and moving them around according to the plan without actually committing the terrorist act. Team members will practice various aspects of their attack plan. They may also practice alternate backup plans. Certain parts of the plan may be rehearsed multiple times, resulting in unusual activity, which may occur several times in succession. They may time their routes to and from the target. They may photograph or videotape themselves to evaluate their performance. Rehearsals work out flaws in the plan and identify unanticipated problems. This is especially true when planning a kidnapping, but it can also pertain to bombings. A practice run may be the heart of the planning stage of a terrorist act. If you find someone monitoring public safety radio frequencies and recording emergency response times, you may be observing a practice run. Multiple practice runs may be conducted at or near the target to gain intelligence. However, it is important to note these practice runs can happen anywhere, and often rural locations are used in order to minimize public attention to the developing plan. It's important to understand that practice runs verify the terrorist concept and plan. They test the reaction of the emergency responders. All potential attackers are likely to participate in a rehearsal, whereas just one person can conduct casing or information gathering tasks. Either a weapon or its substitute may be present in the rehearsal. The seventh sign occurs with the deploying of assets or getting into position to execute the terrorist act. Deploying assets is simply preparing and placing people, equipment, and supplies at or near the target. If you see this type of suspicious activity, this may be the last opportunity you have to report it to law enforcement before the worst happens.
Hello, I'm Rick Eaton, Director of Homeland Security for our great state of Nevada. Common sense tells us that prevention is paramount. If we are responding to a terrorist act, then we've already lost. Information sharing among agencies and jurisdictions within the region and the ability to quickly act upon refined intelligence will allow us to disrupt and prevent terrorist acts. Through your vigilance and timely reporting, we can stop terrorists before they act against us.
Hello, I'm Catherine Cortez Masto, Attorney General of the state of Nevada. With constant vigilance and powerful new fusion tools for actionable intelligence, our state and local public safety professionals, working with your eyes and ears, can meet the challenges of terrorism prevention. There is strength in our numbers. Each citizen of Nevada has a civic responsibility to look out for our collective protection. Nevada is wide open to the world, and so too must all of Nevada's eyes and ears remain wide open to prevent and disrupt those who would seek to harm our community and damage our economic security. 911. If it is an emergency, you should contact local law enforcement immediately. They will conduct a rapid assessment and initiate appropriate action. Simply call 911. If it is not an emergency but you believe it to be a suspicious activity, then call 1-877-828-8386. A quick, accurate description of events, vehicles, and people can make all the difference in apprehending a potential criminal. Report activities that seem unusual, and if you see suspicious behavior, do not confront the individuals involved. Millions of tourists, and those of us who call the Silver State home, enjoy wide-open Nevada. Its natural beauty, its world-class entertainment, and Epicurean delights. Our good fortune will endure if we each remember the 7 signs, follow our instincts, and when we see something, say something.